want you to borrow me your ears, eyes, time, and I am not going to disappoint. I am going to deliver an information about 5 men who were accused, convicted, sentenced to prison, right, over a crime that they never committed. They served more than 10 years in prison. In fact, they were convicted to a life sentence, but they served more than 10 years in prison. After 10 years, they were then released because the Concord realized that no. These are not the real perpetrators. After hustle and after hard work trying to prove their innocency. Listen carefully, the story involves something similar to, not even similar, but the same. So there are some of the things that were said by Bongani Ntanzi are clearly depicted here, right? These men were electrocuted, tortured, and they were forced to confess to a crime they never committed, right? Now, I want us to take this journey and remember what the accused in the sense of Meyiwa have said, and you're going to see them being vindicated here. Even in this thing, there was a trial within a trial, right? But they were found guilty, which will later on be overturned. There is something that I want us to learn about this, which is going to help us understand and give us context and perspective over the things that are happening in the Meyiwa case. But before I take that journey with you, are you interested to take it with me? Are you interested to follow me as I lead in this journey? If you are, then please stick around. As you stick around, there are few things that I'm requesting from you guys. And number 1, subscribe. 2, like the video. 3, comment in the comment section below. 4, share this video. 5, watch this video until the end. 6, you need to watch the ads. Doing all of those things, it's free of charge. Well, there are things that you get to pay for, and those things are, you need to look, next to subscribe, there's a button called join. Click that button, you will pay from as little as 20 Rand a month. 2, you need to look at the, you need to, just next to join, there, you just press that button. There's a button called thanks. You can donate from as little as 10 Rand or 14 Rand a month, 14 Rand, it's a once-off thing. Please make use of such. Right, you know, it's December time, so I thought I wasn't going to be stressful about creating a lot of content. I thought I was going to be off because I'm working behind the scenes. I'm doing a lot of things behind the scenes, right? But people kept sending these informative articles that I need to share with you, so I am indebted to you. There was an article, now please pay attention. This is coming from the University of let's struggle. Let's just say vets because it just serves us a lot. Yeah. So there was an article that was released by vets, right? They say 5 wrongfully convicted men, 1 judge, no compensation from the state. Does that mean that we might see a similar incident occurring between accused number 1 to 5, where they are convicted, later on they are now found not guilty, and there's no compensation for that? I don't know, but let's get into the article. On the 5th of April 2017, Carolyn Roughly, Vets Justice Project and others help release 2 more wrongfully convicted men after 14 years in jail. Now, take your seat, enjoy this. This is going to be, It's well constructed, yet informative. Can't even put the word yet there. Let's put another comma. Insightful and educational article. It gives perspective. It says, before convicted murderer Samuel Sembi, Kanye, and Victor Mayo walked out of Hochimampuru Spike prison gates on the 24th of March, Kanye had just one request which wasn't granted. He wanted to tell the prison director, Mabuti Tele, that that the Constitutional Court had overturned the man's life sentences and conviction on four counts, including murder and robbery, and ordered their immediate release. Officials say all inmates sing the same song, and Taylor called me a liar when I said I knew nothing about this crime. After 14 years in jail for a crime I did not commit, the court has proved I am innocent. After struggling to prove they are innocent for what seems a lifetime, an elected Kanye 37-year and Mayo 25 were vindicated by an order of a higher court in the land. Thanks to the combined effort of Vets Justice Project bracket WJP, human rights attorney Egan Oswald, respected advocate Karen Steinbeck, and wrongfully convicted co-accused Tembegile Mlaudzi. The man left the prison carrying a little else beside a heavy burden of betrayal by the criminal justice system. Ironically, Northwest Judge President Monica Lowe, who convicted the man in 2004, also signed their warranty of liberation. I have pictures of them here being liberated. I wish I can share them. Now, please bear in mind, you've got 5 accused in the Meiwa case, right? Is it a coincidence? Will it, you know, there's a word that says history have got the tendency of repeating itself. It may not be accurately repeated, but history have got the tendency of repeating itself. We are to learn 1 or 2 things from this article. One thing that we learn is that these people were failed by the justice system. So not everybody who's found guilty is actually guilty. That's the first lesson that you need to learn. Not everybody who's found guilty is guilty. And let that sink in for a moment. There's a reason why I said that. I saw a video from an entertainment blogger by the name of Owami. She once said that once you are arrested and possibly you are found guilty, it means that you must have committed that crime. And I'm not trying to bash her, but I'm saying something that she said it. It's there. It's one of the videos. That video, she released it this year, 2023. She released that video, I think it's around August, if I'm not mistaken. You can look around that. She said something around that time. August, September, October, November, around that time. She released the video saying that. I guess here we are being educated that no, it's not always the case. It's not always the case. But let's continue. Both men had protested their innocence since in their 2003 arrest, when they were rounded up as suspect, along with 6 others, following a butchered hijacking and murder of a Motlong policeman, Dikgang Makuna. Hoping truth will prevail. Kanye recently agreed to participate in Prison Victim Offender Dialogue VOD program to meet Makuna's family and tell the truth to help both obtain psychological closure. I told the truth, says Kanye. I said I never committed this murder. When I started crying, Tele, who was at the meeting, told me to stop shedding crocodile tears and obstructing the cause of justice. Moyo refused to meet the family. I've never killed anybody. I know nothing about this crime. The worst part, look, the worst part, no one believed me. I saw a psychologist, but all she could tell me was be strong. In case you don't know, if you are in prison, there's a program called VOD. VOD is meant to give closure to the people whom you have offended, right? So if you follow podcasts or YouTube channels where they do look where ex-convict speak, you will notice that they speak about this program quite a lot. I've never been in prison. I do not wish to be in prison. I don't want to participate in criminal activities, but I do listen to these things. I learn a lot from podcasts that interview ex-convict. Most of them will mention this VOD program. This is going to be a long article, so please relax. We're going to learn a lot. Relax. Let's continue. Failed by the police, the court, legal aid lawyers, private attorneys, and advocate appointed by the Johannesburg Bar Council, Kanye and Moyo can expect no compensation from the state. Listen carefully. They can expect after serving 14 years in prison, meaning their lives have been wasted for over a period of 14 years. They are to expect no compensation from the state. Nor will Lou shoulder any legal consequences for their lost years and shattered dreams of 5 co-accused men, including Kanye and Mayo, who she convicted and sentenced for life in 2004. The man's conviction have subsequently been overturned by the Concord. Now this man says, I am excited, but I'm scared to face the real world, Mayo said, outside the prison gates. I've been here a long time. Everything is different now. Luckily, Kanye and Moyo can turn to old-time exonerers Mulawuzi, Boswell, Mhlomo, and Disconcourse for support as they attempt to rebuild their broken lives in the weeks ahead. Mhlomo and Nkosi convicted were the first to be overturned in the president sitting in 2015 Concord case. Mhlomo and Nkosi exonerations proved the way of Mulawuzi, who spearheaded the long battle to prove the man's innocency. To appeal his own conviction and motivated Kanye and Moyo to fight for their freedom. When Tembegile left prison, he promised he had to do everything in power to help us. Kanye says he is a man of his word. Whatever he says, he fulfills. You know, it's difficult and, you know, it's painful that you first got sentenced. Then you need to go to a process of now proving your innocency. What's the point of people standing before a judge? What's the point of people being questioned? If they are going to be arrested anyway, they are going to be sentenced anyway, and they are going to be found guilty. Gandhi, what is the purpose of investigating officers? It exposes the lack of integrity, lack of honestness among some of police officers. And the reason I'm saying some is because not all police officers are the same. Some police officers, guys, they love their jobs and they are doing it wholeheartedly. But let's continue with this article. It was Mulawuzi who first elected the WJP, which is vets lawyers, to Kanye and Mayo's predicament, and persuaded Kanye and Moyo, I said Moyo, to launch their Concord appeal. This was no easy feat. For starters, legal aid was unwilling to assist them, and neither could afford 6,000 to print 25 copies of their trial record as required by the court. My brother gave me 3,000 and I earned 60 rand per month as a cook in prison. Kanye says, I saved every single cent my brother and my sister gave me for toiletries. I only managed 6 copies, Mayo explained. That is why I was the second applicant and why we launched a joint application. I come from a poor family. My father was killed in a hit-and-run car accident 2 years before I was arrested, before my arrest, and my mother lived in a shack when I went to prison. There was no one to help me. My mother was an only child. I have no aunt or uncle. Only she and 2 of my siblings stood by me. Guys, what a painful story. You know, you're looking at this and you feel the pain. And for the first time in my life, I'm convicted, and I'm going to show you my conviction. You know, I will share it at the end, but let me read this because this story is very long. It's very long, but quite educational and quite interesting, right? Eventually, the man scraped the money together, assisted by Johannes Mohoba, a fellow inmate studying law with UNISA. Kanye and Moyo lodged a joint Concord application for leave to appeal in April last year. The final ugly twist in the man's unfortunate tale came after the Concord asked the Johannesburg Bar Council to appoint an advocate to represent the man on pro bono basis. Prominent Johannesburg advocate Naom Manaka took on the case last July. This is one of the, you know, guys, we get to learn that just because a person is an advocate doesn't necessarily mean that they know what they are doing. Because this is the lady that will go on and betray these men. And this is the lady that wasn't willing to do her job, right? This is the lady that was like, I think she's one of those who said, man, these people are convicted, let them serve their sentence. She was unwilling to do their work. You know, guys, I'm learning. Never, you know, the word judge, I don't like that word, but I'm learning to actually give people benefit of the doubt. Now, you know, as I am, this podcast, in fact, have taught me that lesson to say, give everybody the benefit of the doubt. That's what I'm learning here. I am convicted, or my convictions is that, you know, now I understand. I will share something at the end. There is a verse in the Bible, or a few verses that says, that gives instructions to Christians to say, visit people in prison. Now, I found one of the reasons why we need to visit people in prison. This is one of them. People who are lambasting in prison over crimes that they never committed. They need you and I to go there, give them hope. That is what I'm for the first time, that is what I'm learning. Now, okay, so remember that this lawyer that I was talking about, who was given this case, and then it was July, right? Let's continue looking at this lawyer who's an advocate, who's completely failing to do her work. Initially overjoyed, the man's excitement was short-lived. Manaka never consulted with her clients. Now listen carefully. She never consulted with her clients. That's number one, right? Or inform them of a progress. 2, mostly will not take their calls. 3, Concord feared no better in its attempt to carry Manaka along. In spite of letters sent to her on behalf of Justice Jane Froman, 3 subsequent letters from the register of the court asking when submission will be filed, Manaka failed to respond or even meet her own deadlines. Nor did Manaka respond to 4 requests by the vets for a comments. So you now get to see how people's attitude are. But the funny part is that, you know, sometimes we learn that if we're failing to do what's right, one day we will be faced, or will be in a similar position, or your child will be in a similar position. And that's the day you will understand, the day where you are willing to help your child, but you can't. And God will be punishing you for what you have done. Remember that God says the sins of parents will go, he will visit them upon children. Unless a child repent, if a child wants to continue in the parent's path, you are not only you will face the consequences of your own, but your parents will be visited on you. If you are a parent and you escape your own punishment and you don't face your own consequences, rest assured your children will suffer that. So people like this, they must think twice, because something is coming to you. More than 5 months after Managa's appointment, Kanye had a fortunate via the prison grapevine that she had submitted heads of argument on his behalf to the court. One of my co-accused heard from his legal representative, advocate Lawrence Holmes. I phoned Managa and asked to see the papers. She said she never had copies, not even in her computer. Managa claimed that the delay resulted from the fact that the court was unable to provide her with trial transcript and easily rectifiable situation had she consulted the client or taken up repeated offers by the JWP to provide her with the transcript and other documentation. That means the Department of Law in VET, or lawyers from VET, were willing to provide her with the documentation. Now you get to see that she was just not willing to help these people at all. She was just not willing to help these people. You know, so guys, there's something that you need to learn from this situation, but let's continue. But at the end of January this year, remember that this article is back then, not this year, right? The two inmates were desperate, and Mlaudzi asked the WJP to obtain copies of Managa's submission from the court. To their terror, they discovered Managa had only made submission on Kanye's behalf, and she had conflicted and confused the two men's alibis. The argument contained material discrepancy, and she hadn't dealt with all the relevant issues. Managa just wanted to get rid of our case, Moyo notes. She never cared about us or our freedom. I can agree with Moyo at this moment to say I think she really did not care about them at all. Like, she had no concern, like, guys, come on. This person did not care about these people. But let's continue here. Moyo sought to solace in her prayer, going down on his knees, sometimes 5 times a day. The man knew only too well that the Concord was the last port of call in all portrayed legal battle to prove their innocency. With their liberty at stake and beyond, by the support of the WJP, who robbed attorney Osford to help, the two indigent inmates took an extraordinary brave decision. They instructed the Bar Council to terminate Managa's mandate and requested the agent appointment of an alternative counsel. Steinbeck, who was last month successfully argued the SASA matter in the Concord on behalf of Corrupt Watch, stepped into the bench and lost a replacement head on argument 3 weeks later. A few days later, the state concerned that Kanye and Moyo should never have been convicted, and court ordered their immediate release with a formal judgment to follow. Hey guys. Guys, what is going on? Like, I just want to ask you, what is going on in our court? The same state that had, remember that, okay, let me make you understand this. There are different organs of the states, right? Different entities who are independent by nature. But let's talk about the justice system, right? One, you've got police. Police have got investigating officers in intelligence department in them. So it's one entity that has got different department in itself. The Department of Visible Police, Intelligence Department, Policing. This department, their responsibility is to gather information. Once they've got a sufficient information on a particular suspect, they then arrest this suspect. But they can't go to court and argue their case, as much as they have probably a strong information or strong evidence against a suspect. They now need to work with another independent entity called the National Prosecuting Authority, in abbreviation NPA. NPA provide them with an advocate that is going to argue their case before a judge. An advocate will look at the information coming from the police and say, here, there is a case. I'm going somewhere, don't worry. An advocate will look at this docket before the docket compiled by the police together with their investigating officers and intelligence department. They will look at that and say, the information here, it can stand or it can't, can it stand or it can't stand before a judge. After that, they will make a decision to say, we are going to prosecute these people or not on the basis of this information. So number 2, they decide that this information is worth prosecution. 3, there's another independent entity called judicial system, the judges. I am not going to talk about the defense, the interpreters in court and all the stuff. I'm just going to focus on the judge. There's another independent entity called the judge. His responsibility is to weigh the evidence before he may make a deliberation. Then you've got a 4th one called the correctional service. The judge will then look at the information before him and say, I will find you guilty based on the fact that I've found you, based on the information given here. I am sending you to the correctional service to serve a life sentence on the basis of the information given before the judge. 3 different entities, all of them couldn't see that Mayo was incorrect. Now let's go to the 4th one. There's a man called Telele who still doesn't believe Moyo's innocence and the other co-accused. They go back to Concord and they are now declared in Concord that they are innocent after spending 14 years in prison. I'm still going to say this or emphasize this. Just because a person is found guilty, it doesn't mean that person is innocent, is guilty. It only means that he has been found guilty. That decision can still be overturned. That's what we need to learn. So everybody that is sentenced, we must have this in mind, that decision can still be overturned. Number 2, this is in connection to the Senzo Meyiwa case. What are we learning? Before I sum it up, what are we learning? Let's look at quite a number of things there, right? Okay, after Manaka's contract was terminated, the 5 men's freedom were rested on the complicated legal argument relating to the admissibility of extra crucial evidence of the co-accused with a Concord deemed unconstitutional after Thongo and Gos's appeal. All 5 were convicted to the recanted and uncollaborated hearsay evidence of accused number 1, whom a full bench of an NW High Court deemed a reckless liar. Now let me repeat here. Right. This is the paragraph that sets the precedence over a lot of things. It also helps us to understand what will possibly happen in the Meyiwa case. Listen carefully to this one. There is similarities that you're going to pick up here, but I'm going to have to read this slow. The 5 men's freedom were the 5 men's freedom rested on a complicated legal argument relating to the admissibility of extra crucial evidence of co-accused, which the court deemed unconstitutional after Mhlongo and Gos's appeal. All 5 were convicted on recanted, uncorroborated hearsay evidence of accused number 1, whom all full of bench, or all full, look, all or number 1, whom a full bench of the NW High Court deemed a reckless liar. There's only one person that lied, and just because of that man's lie, he implicated everybody, and because of that, everybody now was sentenced. It begs the question, is our court really independent? Or sometimes they are emotionally driven? So much so that they make such a reckless mistake. This is not the first time we are seeing such a thing. There's a case that I kept telling you about of a man that was sentenced 21 years in prison for a rape case that he never committed. After serving 11 years, this lady confessed and was released. And I got another story of a similar incident where two neighbors were fighting. The other neighbor decided that they're going to punish this one by saying, he raped our daughter. Guess what? After serving a number of years, it was later found that the man has never committed that crime, right? And he was released. The question is, what's the point of going before this judicial system if this judicial system keep making such errors? What's the point? A Bugle SAPS investigation failed to produce... Now, this is another one where you're going to see this evidence in relation to the Senzo Meyiwa case. You're going to see something here. Again, it says, a Bugle SAPS investigation failed to produce, number 1, gun residue. I'm going to come back to this point. Gun residue, independent witnesses, fingerprint, and any other form of tangible evidence linking the 5 men to the crime. In Kanye and Moyo's cases, in identification parade, evidence was so poor to the court disregarded it. Kanye told the court during a trial within a trial that he was forced to make a statement after being tortured by the police. Now, I'm going to go back to this point. Number 1, the police failed to produce a gun residue. Do you remember Judge Ratamo Khwatleng asking about the gun residue in the Meyiwa case, saying that the gun exploded in the presence of people? They were supposed to do something to find the gun residue. That is what Judge Ratamo Khwatleng had once said, right? Number 1, independent witnesses. Have you seen the independent witnesses in this case? I don't find these witnesses independent. 2, 3, fingerprint or any other form of tangible evidence. Have you let's talk about the DNA expert who deals with this aspect of fingerprint. In the current trial of Senzo Meyiwa trial, right? This again has never been found in this accused, right? So another evidence, the DNA has cleared them. What evidence, gun residue, independent witnesses, fingerprint, look, so far we haven't found all of these people, in these 5 accused, right? So these people were sentenced. Despite these things, they were still sentenced. But let's go on. Other form of tangible evidence were not found. Okay. Now, there's another important point here. We still see these similarities here. Police forcing people to admit to a crime they have never committed. Here is a similarity. Now, the Moyo said, police assaulted and beat me until I agreed to cooperate. The former Brits Golf cadet says, they put my head inside a car tire, chopped and covered my face so I couldn't breathe. Then they beat me with a hosepipe and broomstick. They tortured us to 2 days, also with an electric shock to make us confess. They said they wouldn't stop torturing us unless we told the magistrate what they said. In the end, I signed a statement they gave me. The similarities in the Meyiwa case is that these accused are saying we were given a statement to sign. We were told to say this. We were told that we need to agree to this. I found this evidence somehow so quite strange that it collaborates what these accused are saying, especially accused number 1 to than 2. They've been singing the same tune. Now we are not only finding that, oh, so these things, they happen, right? But we are finding even more. So now you see, when accused number 1 and 2 said that we've been electrocuted, we've been tortured, we've been forced to coerced, we signed the statement under duress. This corroborate their evidence. I've been saying to you guys, this thing of electrocuting people and all the stuff, you must listen to all you must listen to the channels where they are interviewing ex-convict. Most people will tell you, and I even said, there's a channel called Network Agenda, if I'm not mistaken. There was a former police guy there who, in that video, said that I used to torture people. So, as a police, I think he even said that we'll go to ShopRite and buy a number of plastics and then take this person and go to a place where it's quiet and then torture that person. So, guys, let's continue. 2 weeks before the conclusion of their 9-month trial, Kanye was subjected to a suffering of a different order. His 55-year-old father, Elias, had a fatal heart attack. High-risk offender was not allowed to attend his funeral. The police kept saying, I was a murderer and I was very badly assaulted. Moyoc recalls, they gave me a statement and told me what to say, but I refused. I was at 21st party in Polokwane. I knew nothing about the matter and I had never been to Motutlong. I brought 3 people to testify who were at the party. It didn't make any difference. The court accepted 3 statements of accused number 1, which all contradicted each other. You know, it just reminds me of the current case where we see statements that are contradictory. Guys, are we going to see these people being, are we going to see these people, or is that, hey guys, it's just scary because almost most of the things that are happening in the Meiwa case, a trial within a trial, whatever you want to call it, almost most of the things that are happening there, they are here. They are happening here. Exactly the way they are described. It's like we are reliving history. Guys, we have seen people contradicting one another. Mind you, when the Concord was making judgment, they were making judgment on the basis of things like this to say, this guy brought a contradicting statements, 3 contradicting statements, but yet the judge continued to overlook all of that and still found these people guilty. Yeah, guys, I don't know what's going on, but yeah, guys, we are going somewhere, but let's continue. When the men arrived at Hoshimampuru C maximum after sentencing, they claimed they were forced to strip naked, assaulted, shocked with electric shock shield, and tortured for no apparent reason in front of a female warders. After they are transferred to Kongstad Bongwenisi maximum prison, designed to house the country's most dangerous criminal, they were assaulted and tortured again. And mind you, we have been told, let me remind you, I think it's Mapisa or Kalros who said that there are people who are wearing an EST uniform, it's a black uniform, they just get there, beat him for no apparent reason. And then remember that Bongani Ntanzi complained about the similar situation to say he was asked to look by Brigadier Keninda and his friends that he needs to undress himself in front of a female police who I think it was Mohola, right? And then he refused. But here we are saying, guys, it's kind of like what is happening in the Meiwa case, we are reliving it because it has happened in the past. And there are more similarities, but I'm afraid about the conclusion. Are we going to see a conclusion where these people are will be sentenced? Right, let's continue. Throughout their ordeal, Kanye and Moyo leaned heavily on Mlaudzi for emotional and practical guidance as they struggled to obtain their transcript that were needed to appeal their case. 8 years after their conviction, prison warder Levi Mopakane took pity on Mulaudzi and asked the JWP for help. Prior to this, the legal aid advocate who initially represented Mulaudzi claimed his office bent down and he had lost all his record. After a second legal aid advocate failed to find the records, Mulaudzi, Kanye, and Nkosi families raised 18,000 between them and paid private attorney to find the records, even though indignant inmates were entitled to this document as state expenses. When an attorney eventually delivered the transcript 2 years later, more than half of the 1,023 pages record, including most crucial evidence, was missing. We didn't commit a crime, Laota says. A crime was committed against us. Guys, I don't know if you see what I'm saying. Like, I'm stressed about the fact that we see more and more and more and more similarities. Bongani Ntanzi said, my bank statement will prove that I did this and this and this. The bank statement come back with missing information, and we are told this is exact information. These people were able to manipulate even transcript. I'm afraid. Are you not shocked? I am. There's something that is happening here. There's something that is happening here. But let's continue. After a repeat request, LWEUW finally agreed to retranscribe the record, and the men were in position to appeal their case. A constitutional right delayed Justice Edwin K. Cameron subsequently described as ingrievous. Their appeal was dismissed by a full bench of an NW High Court. Subsequent Supreme Court or Court of Appeal were also dismissed without a reason. Despite Mulaudzi's personality and constant attempt to buoy their spirit, the men were increasingly despondent. Mhlongo had twice attempted to end his life. A third attempt landed him in a 6-month coma. There were many times where I lost hope and I thought I can't continue, especially when Boswell tried to commit suicide. Moyo says he felt if he left a note telling his mother it was better for him to die. I felt the same. If it wasn't for my mom who stood by me and my son Jimmy, who is now 14, I would have killed myself a long time ago. Clearly, Tingan Maguna and his family were not the only victims of monstrous crime, right? Unlike Moyo, Kanye never saw his mother for 2 years before his release. I didn't want her to visit. Every time she came, she cried a whole time until a visiting hour was over. I disappointed my whole family. If it wasn't this mess, maybe my father will still be alive? That's a question. You see, people are even blaming themselves for a crime they never committed. 14 years later, 5 men and their families are a proof of human cost of judicial error. The fallibility of increasingly dysfunctional criminal justice system, and the fact that not only guilty people find themselves behind bars, especially if they are poor. It's not only me and Victor in prison for nothing. Kanye says there are many other, many others. Sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. I want to repeat the conclusion because I told you this is going to be long. Let me repeat the conclusion. 14 years later, 5 men and their families are a proof of a human. Now listen, no, please note the word. 5 men, 14 years later, 5 men and their families are a proof of the human cost of judicial error. The fallibility of an increasingly dysfunctional criminal justice system and the fact that there's not only guilty people find themselves behind bars, especially if they are poor. This word reminds me of a lady by the name of Ntapseng Dubazana of Dubazana Attorney. She said the other time that people who get arrested are poor people. People sometimes who find themselves in prison and having been sentenced, it's poor people. And you ask me why? I don't know. What is this? 14 years later, they have been found innocent. The state is not willing to compensate. Let's just hope and wish that the state has made up its mind and has been forced to compensate these people. But look at this also from a different angle. When these men were arrested and convicted of that crime, there was, in the process, there will probably be people who will be saying, no bail, blah, 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 for these criminals, right? Because people believe from the bottom of their heart that these people are criminals. When they are sentenced, there are people who celebrated saying, justice prevailed, life sentence, justice prevailed, only to find that you have arrested the wrong person. This person speaks about a judicial error. Speaking about a judicial error, I said the other time that there is a level of faith that we have on judges. We look at them as people who are more or less like fathers, more or less like mothers, because they need to show us how impartial and independent they are. Looking at the case Yaga Senzo Meyiwa, I just can't help but ask myself this question. What do you say about, just focus on the word judicial error. Pay attention to that word, judicial error. What comes to your mind when you hear the word judicial error? How many more people do we celebrate when they get arrested? How many more people do we celebrate for their sentence only to find that we are actually celebrating? Look, we should be crying instead of celebration. But also look at this from this perspective. There's something called in the judicial system double jeopardy. So you can't arrest, let me make this example. You can't arrest, if it said that there was a person that stole my laptop here and you convict the wrong person. The question is, can you go back and convict the right person? Will it not be double jeopardy? Do you see how some people get away with certain things? Because you can't arrest everybody for the same crime. You need to arrest the right person. Well, furthermore, look at it from this perspective. The family of these victims, when they are told that we have found the perpetrators, we have booked them, these people, now you hear the word that they have confessed, you are even sure that these are the right people who committed that offense, right? So you celebrate. 14 years later, after your celebration, thinking that the right people have been arrested, boom, the court tells you that these are not the right killers. these are not the right people who have been arrested. What pain does it inflict on that family? How do they think, knowing that, oh, so if these are the wrong people, then who are the right people? So you mean you begin to think that, so all these years, we thought we had closure, only to find that, no, that was not the truth. But how do you... Guys, it's tough. It's tough out there. It's difficult for other people. That is what I'm learning here. It's difficult for other people. It's difficult. You know, when you are looking at all of these things and you are just thinking to yourself, how many more people who are looking for justice? They keep going in and in and in. They are attending every day, only to find that they are attending a case. Yes, to even think about it is just a shame. Think about it, you are going to court every day. You are singing that the court, you are praying that, hey, we have found the killer or the perpetrator, the court must find this guy arrested. You are praying for somebody to be arrested, someone who is innocent. How many more people? Guys, I don't know. You know, I don't want to speak about pride, but is it because maybe we are employed or we've employed people who are incompetent, people who doesn't even love their jobs to begin with? They're just doing it for salary's sake. But I've learned quite a number of things that I've heard in the Meyiwa case. I just came across this information, and let's give credit to the vets law department. This story, they chronicled this story years ago, and today I find that story to be so relevant. And I'm going to tell you this. These people are cruel, guys. There's another story that I was sent. I'm going to be recording that story shortly. These people are cruel. And if they are not stopped, guys, a lot of us, we're going to get arrested for things we've never done in this country.